goes on and on. After our fifth, we'll really get caught.
You make up your own
They'll-
war.
They'll
You know,
reconstruct
well, after
it.
April of '45, when you know the Germans, I had an idea that you were in Berlin, but you never made it to Berlin.
No,
huh?
no. As a matter of fact,
You
I don't
you
know.
got pulled back to Paris.
I don't know
No,
anywhere after they
no.
made it to Berlin in that push. They
No.
stopped it.
That's right. I think only the occupation troops that came in afterwards.
Oh, the guys
We
who
got up to
the
the.
guys who pushed all the way through France didn't get to
No,
go
they
into
never let
Berlin,
them get
huh?
in there.
No.
The
I'll be
Russians,
damned.
Well,
that was a condescension at
You
the
see-
top level to the
you
Russians.
see what we used to listen to, Dave, and today it probably sounds crazy, but we used to listen to the Russians. What the hell do they call it? Oh, they had a name for it, but whatever it was, they took so much to the. And when they talk about 20 villages, it sounds like a lot. Well, it's not bad, but a village, there could be a village on the other side of the lake, and there can be a village over on this side of the lake, you know what I mean, without a lake in between, but I mean that close. So, we used to, they had something like the order of the day, I think that was it, the order of the day, if I'm not mistaken. And the Russians took less than so, and they were getting closer to Berlin, and we're saying, keep on going, keep on going. I mean, we know what the hell, we wanted to and
Yeah.
keep on going, because they were our allies, and we were out to beat the Germans, and the sooner they got to Berlin, the sooner we got together, the sooner we were gonna go home, you know. And it was very, very simple from that standpoint, but.
Yeah, well, it seems that the guys who landed at the beaches of Normandy and went all the way through France should have had the opportunity to go into Berlin, but they didn't, huh?
They-
No, they didn't. No.
We didn't give a damn
Yeah,
about
I
Berlin. Oh, who cares
Well, there
about
were
Berlin?
some guys that said Berlin or bust. They had some.
Yeah,
that's
up there.
but we got to the Elbe, when I say we, our troops, and then we got.
Well, how far is the Elbe from Berlin?
Oh, gosh, I really,
100 miles, 200 miles?
well, it could be, it's a little hard to know, you know, I mean, mileage over there.
So you
At
got
least
pulled,
100
you got pulled back
Yeah.
to Paris then?
No,
Just
no.
stay where you are.
Well, we didn't get back to Paris. We stayed where we were, and then we went down through Kassel, as I remember. Kassel was where the English retaliated for Dunkirk, and oh boy, they
They
really
did some-
leveled Kassel. And then we went down
Is
to
Castle in Germany?
yeah, Kassel is in
Oh,
Germany.
the England. the
And then we
English-
went down to Ellwangen, I think it was Ellwangen. You know, it's funny, I've forgotten some of this, but after I got into the I&E work, then I had a driver. I had a driver in a Jeep.
What's INE?
Information education.
Okay, information.
You see, the reason for that was that after World War I, they had nothing planned except to take the guys and line them up. Right face, left face, right march, march and so on. What the hell with this? So they were going AWOL, and they were all over the railroad stations and everything. So they figured they had to do something to keep the guys occupied. So they created I&E, Information Education, and I was sent to Paris, to the Université Universitaire.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a beautiful. They had a boulevard there that was named after Rockefeller. He had contributed a lot of money to it. And, but anyhow, the idea was, well, I sent guys up to Berchtesgaden, the Eagle's Nest, the Berchtesgaden. Okay, they were stayed at a hotel on the Königssee, and they ate on white tablecloths. They had GI food, but it was cooked by civilians, which made a difference,
Königssee is a lake up there.
Yeah, oh, beautiful. I understand. I
Is this
never
in
got up.
Austria, is this in Germany? I can't
No,
remember.
the
Eagle's Nest
Königssee, the Eagle's Nest is in is it in Austria or is it in Germany? That was where
It's very
that's where
close to the
Hitler's-
border, yeah.
That's where
Yeah, I
Hitler's
know.
headquarters. See?
Yeah, right.
And I think you're right, Bob. It's probably Austria. But I know the Königssee,
Tell us Nancy, I don't know.
and then if you wanted to, well, I like my friend Ed Klimowski. He didn't want to know anything about window trimming. But I sent him to England. He was going to be a window trimmer.
Oh, is that
He
right?
wanted to go back to England. And but then you run these, and then I hired a teacher. You could not hire a history teacher. You could hire language, mathematics, and Adolf. I remember Adolf. I hired him as a mathematics teacher, and someone else, a gal who was an Italian gal, as a language teacher. And the fellows could go to school, and they actually could be given credit.
I mean, are these American fellows or
Yeah,
German fellows?
yeah,
Right?
guys in the outfit.
Okay.
They could be given
Well,
credit.
what's this restriction on history teachers?
Well, because they figured propaganda.
I see.
See, nothing that had anything to do with the possibility of propaganda, and history, of course, could have been one of them. And but is what they tried to do was to keep the guy, or what they tried to do was to prevent what happened after World War I, and then what they tried to do was keep the guys happy. And I had a place where guys could go, a bar with beer and everything, you know. And
Everything you need.
I'd arrange for dances and have them get the German girls and everything, and have dances to keep them happy.
Right.
Some of these guys didn't want to go home, Bob. When their friends came up, they didn't want to go home.
They got to like it then.
That's right. They wanted to stay there.
It's early Bourne's area.
I overdid it.
What do you mean what happened after World War I? You said they didn't want to have happened, what happened after World War?
Well, after World War I, they didn't have anything planned. And everybody guys were going, whoa, AWOL. They didn't,
They
nothing,
run
nothing
away.
planned. So
Ah.
this time, they had things
Something
planned.
planned.
And, yeah, but some of these guys didn't even, they have to go home? Oh, who wants to go home?
Oh, guys,
Yeah.
that's about it. So that picture that you sent to Todd was actually where then? It wasn't at the Battle of the Bulge?
No,
Brest.
That was the Battle of Brest?
Well, it was in
This one right
probably, in a little French town, and,
Now look at that picture, isn't that something?
in a
That's a
little
neatest
French
picture.
town. Yeah, look at that tough guy. Look at
Doesn't
that.
he
Ed
look
Sloyak,
tough?
he's dead now. This will be the next guy.
Yeah.
Well, did you spend the whole theater with Klonowski? Was he your bunkmate?
Oh, yeah,
The whole thing?
I
well,
thought you
yeah.
sent them to England. Or did you?
Oh, yeah, I see
did,
it.
right?
I see, could be a
The
window dresser.
Right.
Yeah, a Polish window dresser.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't it
Yeah.
neat?
Yeah, that's great.
So when you were, I missed out on about 15 minutes of the conversation, sorry, Cameron. When you were INE,
Yeah.
what basically did you do in Paris
Oh.
for all this time?
You went to school and you learned how to teach these fellows where to go. When I say fellows, I mean
GIs.
GI?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a regular program. And my initial captain that went with me was Captain Mulvanity, and he and I, of course, got to be very, very good friends. And then he was transferred. I think maybe he had enough points to maybe go on home.
Where was he
So-
from? Do you know?
East somewhere.
East somewhere.
Never followed them up on it. you
No,
know?
no.
With a name like that, you could find them though.
And then
Right.
Captain Manwaring, who was our detachment commander, and everybody hated him with a
They
passion.
loved him so much.
He
They hated him
he
with a
became he replaced Captain Mulvanity, and he came to me and he said, "Gee, I'd appreciate, this guy's very humble for me, say," and we hated him because he was a Mormon from the word go. Now he has 21 grandchildren, doesn't he?
Right.
But,
6 wives and
Yeah,
Mary
yeah,
is
yeah.
fantastic.
And he came to me and he said, I wish you would brief me on this. I don't know anything. Well, I didn't tell him, but I said to myself, this is great. And I told the guys, if I get this guy where his hair is short, because I don't have to tell him anything, only when I want to, and he thinks he knows. And I wouldn't tell him a damn thing, see? And so he depended on me completely. I had the run of the mill. And then when we were in this, I think it was L. Lang, and I'm forgetting his place, but I had an offer for all these German Wehrmacht horses. The German Wehrmacht, that's the German army horse. And I had about at least a dozen, bridles, saddles, and everything. And it was a beautiful setup. And I went to the colonel and I said, I have an opportunity to get these horses and everything that goes with it. And he said, where are you going to keep them? I said, if I have to keep them in my room, I'll keep these horses. They were beautiful horses. And so he said, okay, it's up to you. And you're responsible. So I made a deal with the different called the burgomeisters. It would be like the mayor of the
Mayor, right,
yeah.
yeah.
And to get hay, oats, and so on. And then I had to get somebody to take care of them. So I got a Latvian family, husband, wife, daughter, and son. And boy, they were happy because in Europe, your barns up above is an apartment.
Mm.
Oh, they're living room, 2 bedrooms, and so on. Well, they're not luxurious, but they were great. And for these people, and I said, and I will feed you, because I would send a Jeep out there every day with food for them. And I had these horses, I had these guys riding them. I charge them a mark. That's 10 cents an hour, see. And a lot of the horses came back, no riders. But I used to take them down personally. Take them down, have them shoed. I had a great time on that deal. But yeah, that was gee, you think I'd like to go back?
This is a short span of your life.
But
You went home very shortly thereafter.
But you know, Bob, I was telling Nance, to go into the Army, I mean, you wouldn't do it again. But on the other hand, there were a lot of pluses.
Well, it was a broadening experience.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when did
Right.
when did you get shipped home?
45.
February 46, no.
February 46.
Yeah, I came home
46,
46.
And that's where you got home on a ship and you didn't want to have anything to do with Lorna Doones and Orange Marmalade?
God, no.
Oh, tell us about that.
No, I'm an orange marmalade kid. Yeah.
And,
You don't.
That was my bad.
because I always remember, finally got up to go to the mess. I got up there and the big black guy behind me, and all of a sudden he says, "Oh Lord, don't let me down now." And I looked at him, boy, forget it. The guys, the stuff that's sliding off the
Oh,
tables,
God.
you know, and this and that. But I was telling Mom that there was this captain, he was an Army captain, and he said, "One day you guys are gonna laugh about this." And I said, "You're crazy." Oh, I've never laughed about that.
You smiled inwardly.
But it was on a Saturday night. We landed on a Sunday morning.
New York Harbor?
New
New
York
York
Harbor.
or England or where?
What do you-
Oh, no, coming in. No, coming back. No,
New York?
Yeah, coming in New York. Saturday night, and I remember Racing with the Moon.
Vaughn
Monroe. Oh my God!
Vaughn
You know, this
Gravel
was
boys.
terrific. And then we get in on early Sunday morning, and all these boats are out there, and all these gals are waving, you know, and boy,
And Dad called me, and I cried the whole time he called me. He said, "I'll call back tomorrow."
yeah. 'Cause
I just wept.
Because I had
bucket.
5 of these gals I had to call, so I had 5.
We, you know,
It's a ephemeral. Those were-
every time that there's a program on about, you know, the end of world and soldiers coming in at New York, I always look for you. And I don't know if I've ever said, you know.
Now, is that where they served Lorna Doones and Orange Marmalade? Was it on the boat on the way
No.
home, or did you have all the
No.
way through?
Everywhere.
That was just
Bob
everywhere, huh?
had it.
Yeah.
Did you?
Uh,
That was
I had a
something.
lot of orange marmalade. SMA, you know.
Wait,
I
no.
couldn't stand it after a while.
You know, when was the war in China over as opposed to the war in Europe?
Well, very shortly after they dropped the atom bomb in August.
Well, you went clear to 40. You didn't end in April of 45.
Oh, yes, well, this is now August of 85. Things happen fast then. And they dropped the bombs in April of 45. And I was over in China at the time, and I had a couple of jobs. They wanted me to fly a senator and representative around to various places, which I did, you know. And I came back, we almost didn't make it. I mean, it was very heavy clouds, and we had to get down into this lake area. And I come along, and I was a slip in the cloud, and I saw a break, and I just circled down, and we landed. He got out, and he's going back to Congress or whatever. Then they decided the war was over, and they said, okay, we need a plane to go and check all these fields in central China to see where they can take our aircraft. And I'm the guy that's got to do it.
Oh,
And
no.
we got a guy in the right seat that's an engineer that can measure these things. See? So we take off. We're going like a week. You know? This is like August or September of 45. The war has just ended, but we don't even know if the Japs know the war has ended. And we'll fly over certain airfields, and all we see is the top of the flag flying because it's all underwater. The Yellow River and overflowing.
Oh.
Which the Chinese flag, American?
No,
flag?
well, no, just the flag on the airstrip. We're
Oh,
trying to land.
okay.
We have a certain
Oh.
map that's rather sketchy, but this is where there's an airfield, and this is where there's an airfield. Check it out. Find out where they can take our plane. And, you know, I'm saying, hey, this one is underwater. He says, yeah, we got to go somewhere else. So we go to the second thing in somewhere in central China.
What's your flight?
And we land because it was open. And we're stopped and we're looking around and there's not much happening. And I look up on the hill and here comes the guy on a bicycle with a long black robe. And he's an Irish Catholic priest who came up to us and he was rather cadaverous looking. He was almost on the way out. But he had lived there all during the war because Ireland is neutral. And they had permitted him, the Japanese
Sure.
had permitted him to stay there with his parish or whatever he's got going, see?
Oh,
And I told him,
unusual.
you know, we're American flyers and we're coming in and checking this out. And so then we take off for another place and we go to Hankow. Now Hankow is a pretty big city in central China. Whether they still call it Hankow, we'll have to check because they changed all the names of these cities.
Oh, I
Sorry
know
about that.
they have.
If it's
Yeah.
broke, I'm in big trouble.
How about Chow
He
Mein?
didn't break. You're
Okay.
in order.
And we landed there, and I looked at the guy in the right seat, he's an engineer, I said, hey, look what's coming over here. And here's about, 50,000 guys with rifles running out for the plane, see? And I said,
Really?
do you think they know the war is over? Well, they got out right beside the plane, and they all lined up in perfect formation,
Saluted you.
Oh, really?
So we got on the plane, and,
Were they
they
Japs?
well, yeah, they were Japanese, And
Oh my
Japanese are
God.
kind of short and stocky in stature, and they look healthy compared to
They
the
all
Chinese.
had Sony
Chinese look
television.
skinny and wasted away.
Really?
But the Japanese are short and stocky, and they got rifles in them. But they had been informed that the war was over. Okay.
Well, that's
Oh, that made us glad.
that's
So, in fact, they brought us out some sort of a vehicle and took us down in the middle of town to something called the Officers Club. And we went down there and they had magazines. They were Life magazines, but they were fake Life magazines that would show American soldiers and sailors in very disparaging positions and stuff like that. And they'd say, now look at this photograph. This was taken supposedly by an American, and it shows Fujiyama with smoking coming out of the top. And we know this Fujiyama has not erupted since 1480 or something.
Oh.
And so we know that their photographs are false. And we're looking through all these magazines. I might have some home yet. I took some with me. But the engineer was with me, and he just wanted to check out on how the field is and whether there's places for people to sleep that might come. So we went to all these places. And we were the first plane in China after the
After
war.
the war.
After the
Really?
peace was decided, after they dropped the bombs.
Oh
And
my
we went to all these
God.
places, and we're the first planes. They hadn't come in from the Pacific side yet. We're coming in from the mountains
Oh.
on the western side. Okay, and we're flying down, and then we're doing all these things. And I finally got them back, and everything was all right. And they sent me because they figured I'd never make it.
Oh!
That's encouraging.
Well, they sent me with a senator because they figured I'd never make it, and I got back there too, so.
They
Well-
sent you with a senator?
Yeah, some senator or representative from Congress was over there about that time. And I flew him to various places and
Oh,
showed
I
him
see.
around, and then came back and got him back so he could get back to Congress and tell them all the ones, I don't even know
To
who.
throw him out the big door?
Then I had flown, like a French general showed up at Kunming, right? And he wants to get down to something called French Indochina, it's south of us, right? So I'm the guy that's assigned to take him down to French Indochina, you know, and stuff like that. And so I'm down there. At that time, it was before Bien Phu. It was, you know, there was still French Indochina. So I flew in a French Indochina with this gentleman and dropped him off. And they said, hey, we're not worried about the Japs around here. We're worried about these funny guys in the jungle that want to
Oh,
exterminate us. And that was whatever happened after, in the era after I was
The
there.
Viet Cong.
The Viet Cong,
Yeah.
And so they were all around the jungle. So, you know, when I took off, they said, well, take off. You're not going to, I'm talking on the radio, you're not going to buzz us, are you? I said, and I come around with this, you know, it's a twin engine transport plane, twin tails, twin engine. It's a light plane, see. And I come down across that tower and I buzz them like that. And he says, you're on an altitude flight, I figure. He wouldn't give me the benefit of the doubt of buzzing. But I got out of there because that was a scary place because there's a lot of funny people in the jungle that want to kill all white men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, that was,
Sure.
and I figured, well, all our guys from Europe are going to come over and clean them out. Well, they never
Yeah.
clean them out.
In
They
the
sent them all
meantime-
over for Vietnam. You know. They never
You.
clean them.
In the meantime, you wouldn't be go, you know, that's amazing.
So when did you get sent back to the States?
Well, it was a question of whether I should go over the Pacific or go back to Calcutta.
Oh, they were going to send you over to the Pacific.
Yeah, so I had a lot of points built up. But I finally went back to Calcutta and got on a boat and went back and got more sunburn than I ever had.
Yeah.
And
Took a
met a nurse that I had
long
met
time.
up in the hills and I thought she was lovely. Well, I never did follow that up. Well, we played bridge and things like that. But I did come up through the past Aden and up through the Red Sea and through the Mediterranean. And I would see Italy and I would see Spain. But I never got onto the
You
European
never got on, you
continent.
never got onto the continent.
No,
huh?
But
Just by
Bob,
boat.
that,
And
you
you-
know,
and you came back to the
these
States by boat?
things you saw.
Well, they have funny winds over the top of the Himalaya mountains when you're crossing them up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm flying over one time, and we're getting up at the altitude, which at that time was 12,000 feet, when you should put the oxygen mask on.
Ah.
And I get into an updraft, it's a storm, see? And it keeps taking me up, and I'm shoving the wheel forward as hard as I can shove it. I'm not a very strong guy, but I shoved it as hard as, and it just keeps going up 18, 19,000 feet, you know? So then I reached up and I grabbed this mask, and I finally got it on my face so I could keep control of the aircraft. And then we got over that thing and it started down just as fast as it went up. And I think, God, there's rocks down there. We're over the Himalayan mountain, we're over the hump. And I can't go down too far. And now I'm horsing back as hard as I can. I got my foot up again, and I can't, it keeps going down, down. Then it stops. Just about the level where I was, you know.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of scary, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not near as scary as the time I came out of Burma. And I'm going to fly up to Lido. And I got a whole hospital plane full of guys. Americans, and Chinese, and I don't know what all. You know. And I take off from Bamo, Burma, and I'm going up, and I get into some heavy clouds, and I'm coming up, and it gets so heavy you can't believe it. Wild thunderstorms and hail over the plane, and it cracks the window from me. And I look down and I can see sunlight down there, and I just crank that thing around. I got a whole plane full of wounded Americans and Chinese, and I go down, you know, and I go back for Bamo, and I landed there. And the whole wing sections in front are like you took a Vulcan hammer and went bang, 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 bang. They're little hailstones. Hailstones. And there are a couple of canvas surfaces on a DC-3, like on the tail and the rounds and they were all ripped to shreds almost. And I got so
Oh, my.
I said, you got to cure this thing by tomorrow because these guys got to get back. And they did. They put patches on everything, you know. And the next day they brought them up. They had a makeshift hospital in Bono. They brought all the wounded back onto the plane, and we took off, and we got back to Lido. and
My
they could get good hospital care.
My
But
God.
that's a
How you
wild.
two guys ever survived? It's beyond me.
Unbelievable.
You would do it too,
Oh, yeah.
if
Yeah.
you had.
Well, under duress, you
Yeah.
gotta make some
Yeah.
decision,
Yeah.
and you do, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing what you do. The human body, it's fantastic how it adjusts, isn't that right?
It can adjust, yeah.
Yeah,
When I said, like at Orleans, outside of Paris, wet shoes, wet body, everything for a whole week, you know.
Well, how
You
you,
you have to build
how you
that
put
up.
the tent together?
Well,
you
it was
said
a
you
pup
had a
tent, honey, you
section.
build a little trench around it, you know, but you're
But you only
out.
had half a tent though, right?
Well, yeah.
Klonowski had the other half.
Ed had the other,
was gonna say-
and boy, if he didn't get that up right, that Pollock would have.
But isn't that, didn't you put it together with someone else? Is that what you
No,
told me?
Eddie and I, everybody you had your own shelter half, that's what they call
That's
it.
what, okay.
A shelter half. So if Bob and I were together, he put his half up, we'd button them together and put
That's
it
the way
down.
it was, I remember that.
But is what we did though, you know, you can't beat the GI. We'd get another 2 shelter halves and you'd strap that on the other end, so you had a palace. You had this one
This is
here,
Senate
you
High
had
School,
this
they
one
had
here.
something called,
And that was great because you could put your stuff under that
Stunt
end, you know.
And keep
But-
everything dry?
this is before
Yeah.
the war. It says, "We will not save the king." I mean, there was
fun time.
there was a period like 1940 or 41 when you should help England. Because England was in this war and it's been in there for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And they were in bad shape. And they said, "We will not save the king." Or somebody else said, "This is high school graduation type thing." No, that's,
There's that good-looking lady that looks like my wife.
right.
Uh-huh.
No,
Well,
Oh, that's you.
I'm very glad that,
this is before the war.
You're
This
talking
is
about
the
Mom,
period.
right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm very glad that, I went into the European theater. Of course, Bob was unfortunate.
I liked it.
You liked it?
Oh,
Okay.
God. I wouldn't have been anywhere else.
I apologize.
Oh, really?
I
I'm
apologize.
saving my European theater to something called my autumnal years.
Oh.
They're coming up short.
He knows he's on camera,
What
so
is
he's
that?
trying to. Yeah.
What does that
But anyhow, that means he doesn't
Well,
give a
you
damn
know, if
whether
you
he
can't
goes to
climb
Europe or
mountains
not.
in Idaho, then you go to Europe and sit around because they feed you. You know, you take a train, you get fed.
He sits
So
on
if you can't do
Fiji.
anything else, you go to
He
Europe.
sits on
stuff
Fiji.
and
see?
stuff.
But anyhow,
funny?
I was glad I went to Europe,
Oh.
and
Well, now tell me about the people that you stayed with in England. Now
Oh.
that's where did you go to Holland? You said you were in,
Well, that was-
my good friend in Holland.
Have you
he
ever
was a-
seen the movie Yank?
Yes.
Yanks?
Yeah,
oh,
Where
were
the,
they-
where the guys go and stay in England,
yeah.
you know, for, quite a while. I wonder if you ever seen
I
that.
think
No.
so, Dave. I'm
No.
not sure, but I think so.
No.
We
Oh,
have,
when
we
did
have
you-
an album
I'll have to
over
get-
here called Calling
When we come-
Is it available where you can rent it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of
When we
interesting.
come
Oh,
down
it's
at
the new
Christmas.
one?
No, it's out 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh.
You know, it's about the Richard Gere. He played, and he's a American GI. He goes over to England and he's built it with a family,
Okay.
you know, and
Look at that.
the time he
Things
spends
over.
yeah.
from before he goes into Normandy.
Yeah.
And interesting movie.
Well, you know, yeah, you talk about living with people, and of course, as we got close to England, some guy had the Ouija board,
Oh.
and he got the Ouija board,
Mhm.
and the word got out that Hitler was going to give up. Oh boy, are we for the Ouija board? That Ouija board, yeah. And was it wrong?
Yeah.
But anyhow, as we got closer, you know, and we landed in Liverpool, and then we went into what would be a cotton gin or cotton gin mill or something like that. And we were set up for the night, and we went into the mess hall, and this colonel got up and he said, this was on a Saturday. He said, tomorrow, and the latrine rumor was that we were going to go into private homes. We thought, the hell with that, forget it. That's out of the question. And he got up and he said, tomorrow, which was Sunday morning, you're gonna go into private home. Oh! A half hour later, everything settled down. Everybody was so happy.
How long had you been over at that point?
We just
You
got,
just
we just
got
landed at Liverpool.
Oh.
And so Ed and I, of course, we stuck together. And we get on the back of a half track and they take us down. There was going so slow, there was a
What's a
bop.
half track?
bop. Well, it was a 6x6.
half
You know, a
track
6
is
by
a
6 is a half track.
Oh,
Truck.
truck. Okay.
And it was moving very slowly because it was a bobby. A bobby is an English policeman.
Okay.
He's walking by us. We're going through this suburb of Manchester. This is Wythenshawe. And he'd say, one yonk out here, see. And then we get a little further. 2 yonks out here. Ed said, you want to go? Yeah. We jumped over the tailgate with our 80-pound pack on our back, and we walk into
I know
somebody's,
how it is last month.
into somebody's home, you know. How the hell would you like somebody to come to your home, you know? Two ugly Americans. And
They were
our yonks, we've
delightful.
been waiting
You know?
for a year for our yonks. Well, that night, Ed and I walked around. We couldn't convert our money, see. And we walk around. You can get fish and chips and so on. And Ed, we can't go in and get them because all we
You
have
didn't
is
have any?
American money, see. Oh, God.
Now, what were their names that you stayed with?
Ravens. Ernie and Nell.
Ernie and Nell,
Ernie and
that's
Nell,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
passed away,
They
you
were-
say?
Yeah,
Or- or-
yeah, they did. Our Joe. And but
Just a
anyhow,
couple years ago.
it was. We had toyed with the idea of going down there to see them up
We
there.
tried
see
that.
them, you know,
To London, but a long way.
Can we revert back to Burma for just
Oh,
a second?
yeah.
Yes.
There's a place called Mogok, where something like 85% of the world's rubies came from
Oh,
before the
my.
war.
Have some
Who
little
came from
ones.
Bob?
Mogok.
rubies.
Mogok. Rubies, they're jewels.
Oh.
And
Oh,
we got a Jeep somewhere. This was in a slow part of the war. There is some slow parts of the war. And we got a Jeep. It didn't work very well. I didn't think it'd make it. And I wrapped up a couple of cartons of cigarettes in something like cellophane, but it wasn't, to take it up because cigarettes are a negotiable currency in Burma.
yeah.
Maybe
Right.
anywhere, maybe
Right.
everywhere.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we get up to this place, and they tell us about, and there's a lot of beautiful women walking around because it had been there for like 100 years, and the British had come in, and they had married the Burmese, and there was a combination of British and Burmese girls, several generations since.
Uh-huh.
It just looks so beautiful, I'd never seen it in my life. But
They are pretty.
we're interested in getting jewels, and we get some funny jewels, and we trade cigarettes. But the trouble is, it rained on the way up, and some of the cigarettes got wet, and they would say, they look quite wet. They could speak English very well,
Yeah.
these traders,
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you haven't been able to get into Burma, even up until now. Maybe very recently, but to get up there and get their jewels, it's wild. Maybe the Japanese ripped them off, or I don't know. Well, they hadn't because we had already driven the Japanese off of that area. We got to get up to Mogok and trade something for those great jewels they have. They're blue and they're red and they're
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
they're great,
Yeah.
great things.
Yeah.
You have some sort of a
Yeah.
sapphire. Well, that was from India. I didn't get that in Mogok, but Mogok is something else.
Well, Bob had a lot of things that were taken from his.
Well, that's right. That's what they took. I had a
Yeah.
Foot Locker on board the ship that I came back on. I flew over, but I came back on the Horace Greeley. It was one of your things that were built by Kaiser.
Another school teacher.
And
Horace
when I got the boat back to New York, and they showed me my suitcase, this lock is smashed, and everything of value is gone.
Oh,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And I had, boxes full of interesting jewels that you should have. They're
oh.
lost forever.
They're gone. Oh,
You know, speaking of things, we were in an area. The only thing we ever got was cognac, wine. All these guys that were getting loot. Some of the guys were getting places where they got rulers. And some got, and in Germany, they're noted for their electric trains. They sent back to the States.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah, beautiful, beautiful electric train setups, you know. So we got all the wine and all the guys were running around, you
Well,
know.
wine was there.
Yeah.
Jewels was Europe, or Asia, but, you know, wines were France and Germany. All they had was stones where stones that are bad.
So when did
Hey,
you,
he wants some.
You know, Bob, we've only covered really a fraction.
Okay.
We'll be back next year at the same time, same place.
Hello,
no, wait, I
goodbye.
have a question. When
Yeah.
did you go to Holland then? I didn't know you were in Holland.
Oh, yeah, yeah. From, we went up through France, and we went we went into Belgium. And that's where we were in the, as a rest area in this,
Not the Battle of Ball.
no, yeah, with it, you know, trees and fruit and everything else.
Oh, the orchard.
An orchard.
The orchard.
Yeah, and then we went up into Holland, into Val's Holland, and I have a picture of where we were at the, let's see, there's Belgium, Holland, France, and really four countries, and there are these things that are standing up there that, and I think really only three. Isn't that right? You have that picture?
Things that are standing up there.
Well,
The-
they're like
yes,
they're like almost like a tombstone,
Yeah.
but they are,
Oh,
and they represent three different countries. They're really four different countries at that point, see. And so we were in Holland. We went into we set up in a girls' school, which was,
oh, that's the picture right there. Oh,
That
yeah,
and that's, yeah.
which was a beautiful
Roman-
setup. It was run by nuns.
Blumenthal.
Oh,
Yeah, Blumenthal, yeah.
Yeah.
and how long is this before the war ended? When was, oh, this is June 1945, this says.
June.
In
Okay.
Bowles, Holland?
Val's
Val-
Holland.
Wow.
June of 1945, so it ended, honey, in May. So it was dead of winter when we were
When
there.
you went there?
Mhm.
Now, when were you with the people that you showed the popcorn to? Were you back in homes
Oh.
at that point?
I think that was involved. So what are you doing, Mom?
Nothing.
You were in, so you went to stay in homes again, besides this,
No, see, we went to, Involves, Involves, that's when we went down, Gene Van Epps, we'd get down and visit this family, and, they,
how did you meet that family? You were
Well,
staying in this building?
It's funny, you'd walk through these villages,
And you just
and,
meet people?
and you get to meet these people.
They were probably glad to have you there, weren't they?
Yeah, you thought so. In France, down in Normandy, we would go into these homes, and these were the FIFI, we call them, Free French of the Interior, FFI, see. And they thought that we, of course, as Americans, were
I'm just getting close.
much too lenient, because they got a hold of Germans and they'd kill them. They'd line them with what they call fuse wire, and they'd wind it around their necks and they'd light it and go bing, 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 bing.
Oh,
bing,
you're
bing. Yeah.
kidding.
No.
These
no.
French people would do that with the
Oh, yeah,
Germans?
but they had a perfect right to do it
Oh, I
because they were
suppose.
gonna, retaliate.
Either one or the other.
Hello, sweetheart.
Oh, sweetheart.
So, just tell me that story about the popcorn again. I think that's so cute.
Well, this I
Mom
think
had
was,
sent it?
this was at, this was at Val's. Eddie Van Epps, Gene Van Epps, I'm sorry. Van Epps and I, we would go and visit with these people, and I had some popcorn sent to me, and so we brought it over one night. I got some butter from our guy who was chief cook, and they started to pop it, and it popped, you know, and they couldn't understand what this was, so they served it in little sauce dishes with spoons, you know. They said, we don't eat it that way.
That's great.
Yeah, it was completely new. They never saw anything like it.
Something totally different.
Now, you know, people, I mean, when I say people, Americans can't understand how some people are wondering what popcorn is.
Yeah.
And this is a fact of life. They don't.
Well, could Mom send things over to you periodically? Would it catch up with you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when we were over. Well, yeah, because see, the Germans during the Battle of the Bulge, they got a lot of stuff that was coming to us for Christmas.
Oh, and they hung on to it.
Oh, you're darn right. But I remember when we were down at Brest, we were just over on the continent for a short time. Ernie and Nell sent me, I think it was cake or something. Well, when I got it, it was, but their heart was in it, you know.
Oh.
They wanted me to have some of this cake, as I remember saying, that she had baked.
But it was bad by the time
Oh,
it
yeah,
got to you?
yeah. It was exposed to the heat.
Yeah.
Of course, this was like in August. You know,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
cold, it was hot. But,
Huh.
yeah.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat.